Hi everyone, and a very warm welcome to all our viewers. And in this particular video, we are going to discuss the PostgreSQL interview questions. So, guys, if you're working in IT, it is very important to have good understanding of databases. So now every application in the IT industry, it has a front end, back end, and a database. So it doesn't matter what your profile is in the IT industry, whether you're a developer, you're a tester, or you're any sort of admin, it is very good to have SQL knowledge. And guys, PostgreSQL is one of the most popular databases out there. Like apart from PostgreSQL, we also have MySQL, SQLite, Microsoft SQL Server, and so on and so forth. But in this particular video, we are going to cover the most frequently asked PostgreSQL interview questions. So guys, in this particular video, we have covered a few questions, and all of the questions that we will be covering in this video are divided into three categories. The first category is for the beginners or the freshers. The second category is for the intermediate people, like those people who have at least 2 to 3 years of experience in the IT industry. And the third category of questions is for the advanced folks, like those folks who have at least 5 to 6 years of experience in the IT industry. Okay, so this is the whole agenda for this particular video. And before moving ahead, I want you guys to subscribe to MindMajix YouTube channel and also hit that bell icon so that you never miss an update from us. So without any further delay, let's get started with our first category of questions. That is the questions which are meant for the freshers or the beginners. So let's start with our first question. And the first basic question and a very obvious question is, what is PostgreSQL? So guys, PostgreSQL is a freeware object relational database management system, or ORDBMS. It is also called as Postgres, and it is one of the most popular and a widely utilized object relational database management systems. So guys, there can be several types of databases, like you have hierarchical databases, network databases, object-oriented relational, cloud-based database, centralized database, operational database, and NoSQL database. So this particular PostgreSQL is a object relational database management system. So it is a strong database management system that offers substantial and additional power by integrating fundamental concepts so that all of the users can extend the database, or they can utilize the database in a proper and efficient way and without any errors or without any problems. The next question is, what are the primary applications of PostgreSQL? So guys, unlike any other databases, there are a few applications of PostgreSQL. So like PostgreSQL enables you to create, update, and delete the tables in the databases. Like you can perform all the CRUD operations with tables in the database. Apart from that, you can also manipulate, modify, and access the data in a table. Next, what you can do is you can summarize and retrieve the required information from a single table or multiple tables as well. And last but not the least, so guys, this is the very basic question, and all of these applications or all of the tasks that you can do with the help of Postgres is mentioned in this particular question. So now let us move ahead to the third question. So what are the benefits of PostgreSQL? Like why you should use PostgreSQL? So guys, there are several benefits of PostgreSQL. Like it offers excellent scalability and performance. Performance wise, it is a very good database. And also, depending upon the application that you're using, you can easily scale with the help of PostgreSQL. Apart from this, it efficiently manages massive amounts of data and parallel connections. Next, it provides various advanced features like with PostgreSQL, you have support for complex data types, geospatial data, or full on text search with PostgreSQL. Next, as we have already seen, PostgreSQL is highly scalable. It means it enables us or the developers to create the custom data types, procedural languages, and functions as well. And last but not the least, it supports data integrity, reliability, and ACID properties. So, guys, I hope you must be knowing about ACID properties. Like ACID stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and duration. So, these were some of the benefits of using PostgreSQL database. The next question is, what are the important features of PostgreSQL? So now if you talk about the features of this particular database, so this PostgreSQL is endorsed by all of the major operating systems out there. So it doesn't matter whether you are using a Windows operating system, a Linux based operating system, or even a Mac OS. The next feature is that PostgreSQL is an object relational database. Basically, it is a combination of object oriented database and relational database. That is why it is called as object relational database or ORDBMS. Apart from that, it also supports procedural languages and multi-version concurrency control. So we will be seeing these features in the upcoming questions as well, like what is MVCC and so on. And last but not the least, PostgreSQL also includes nested transactions. So what is a transaction? We will be seeing in the upcoming questions. And like in every database, you have nested queries as well. So similarly, like nested queries, you also have nested transactions. So these were some of the important features of PostgreSQL. The next question is, how do we install PostgreSQL? So guys, in this particular question, the interviewer obviously will not give you a laptop or a system or a PC and he will ask you to download the PostgreSQL. The interviewer just wants to know what are the basic or the some of the steps that are used in installing PostgreSQL. So there are a few steps. Like in the first step, you have to go to the official PostgreSQL website. Always download any application or any database or any language, programming language from the official website only. And based on the operating system, you have to select the version of the database. Next, execute the installer and follow on-screen instructions. Over here, we may have to specify the installation directory and give a password for the database super user. The third step is you have to choose all of the components that you have to install, like PostgreSQL Server, the graphical interface or the GUI, and the command line tools. So this totally depends on the user. Like you can decide what are the components that you want. And similarly, once you check the components, you can install them. Next, in the fourth step, you finish the installation process. And once the installation process has been finished, you can verify that whether the PostgreSQL database has been correctly installed on your system. Alternatively, you can configure the additional settings like memory allocation or network access as per your requirements. So guys, apart from this installation, the interviewer might also ask you like which is the latest version of PostgreSQL as of now. So currently PostgreSQL 17 was released on September 26, 2024. So this is the latest version and you must always upgrade to the latest version because with latest version you also get significant performance enhancement and new features as well. The next question is, what is a schema? So guys, this particular question is not related just to PostgreSQL. Like for any SQL database, this question is valid. So what is a schema? So in PostgreSQL, a schema contains tables with views, data types, indexes, constraints, functions, and sequences. The next question is, define a constraint in PostgreSQL. So guys, a constraint is nothing but a group of conditions that define the kind of data that acts as input to every column of the table. So constraints will be used for assuring the data integrity in the table and to avoid the unnecessary actions as well. The next question is, define a join in PostgreSQL. So guys, this is a very basic and a very important question in any database or SQL based interview. Now, in this particular question, we have to define what is a join. So joins are used for combining and retrieving the records from two or more tables. So PostgreSQL utilizes SQL joins for performing these types of operations. So furthermore, the interviewer can also ask you what are the different kinds of joins. So you can tell them what are the different types of joins like inner join, right join, left join, full join. So you can just specify the definitions and it is very much easy to explain the types of joins using Venn diagrams. I hope everyone in their high school, you know the concept of Venn diagrams. So with the help of Venn diagrams, you can easily explain all of the four types of joins. So the next question is, what is a primary key? So the primary key is the column or a group of columns that uniquely identifies every row in the table. So it assures the integrity and the uniqueness of the data in the table. So the primary key constraint follows two rules. So the two rules are the value of the primary key columns should be unique, and the second one is the primary key columns must not include null values. So for defining the primary key in the database or PostgreSQL, we can utilize the primary key constraint while creating or altering the table for adding that particular constraint. So it is very important to note that we can define only one primary key per table. So based on the previous question, the next question is, what is a foreign key? So foreign key is a group of column or a column that sets up the link between the two tables. So basically it depicts the relationship between the reference table, which is also the parent table, and the referencing table, which is nothing but the child table. So the foreign key assures the referential integrity by following two rules. So in primary key also we had two rules, and in foreign key also we have two rules. The first one is the values in the foreign key columns should be available in the primary key or the unique key constraint of the reference table. And the second rule is deletions or updates in the reference table are controlled for maintaining the consistency of the referencing table. So basically for defining the foreign key, we can utilize the foreign key constraint while altering the table or while creating the table for adding the constraint. The foreign key columns in referencing table should have the same data type as the primary key column in the referenced table. So guys, I hope the concept of primary key and foreign key is very much clear. Apart from this, the interviewer can also ask you, explain the basic difference between primary key and foreign key. So in short and sweet sentences, you can explain like a primary key enables only a unique value and non-null values, whereas a foreign key offers shared keys between two or more tables. So this is the basic difference between primary key and foreign key. The next question is, can we run PostgreSQL on the cloud? So the answer to this question is yes, we can run PostgreSQL on all of the famous cloud providers like AWS or Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform or GCP, and Microsoft Azure. The next question is, what is a view? So the view depicts the query result to one or multiple inherent tables. So views are basically used to simplify the difficult queries, as these queries are defined once in the view and they can be directly queried. The next question is, explain normalization. So in any database, not only PostgreSQL, but in any database, normalization is a mechanism through which we can create or modify the databases and the tables for handling the inefficiencies related to data storage, query processing, or data modification. So in simple words, normalization includes multiple steps for reducing data complexity and redundancy. So guys, in this particular question, the interviewer might also ask you about what are the different types of normalization, like you have 1NF, 2NF, 3NF, and so on. So if the interviewer asks you these kind of questions, you must also be able to explain these concepts. The next question is, what is a transaction in a database? So a transaction is basically a sequence of database operations that are considered as a single logical unit. Basically, it assures the atomicity, isolation, durability, and consistency properties, basically the ACID properties of a group of associated database. So transaction enables multiple database operations to be implemented together. If any part of the transaction fails, all of the modifications within the transactions can be rolled back, and thereby you can maintain the integrity of the data. And now the interviewer might also ask you, how do you handle transactions in PostgreSQL? So basically transactions can be handled internally through the auto commit mode, where every statement is considered as a separate transaction, or internally through the begin, rollback, and commit statements for defining the transaction boundaries. The next question is, what is PL Python? So basically PL Python is a procedural language to which PostgreSQL provides support. The next question is, what purpose does pgAdmin in the PostgreSQL server have? So the pgAdmin in PostgreSQL is a data administration tool. Like for every database in the IT industry, like any SQL based database, you have a database admin. So basically, the database admin uses a tool called pgAdmin. So it serves the purpose of retrieving, developing, testing, and maintaining the databases. So all of the activities related to the databases, like apart from developers, so the admin performs the tasks related to maintaining the database. The next question is, how can we add new values to a particular table? So guys, this particular question talks about, like, the interviewer might ask you some of the basic queries related to database. Like in this particular question, the interviewer is asking you, how can we add new values to a particular table? So basically, in any of the SQL based database, there's a very important statement like insert into, and using this insert into statement, you can add data to the SQL table. Similarly, the interviewer might also ask you, like, how do you create a new database? Like before creating a table, you need to create a database. So you can create a database using a create database, which is an SQL command. And apart from SQL command, you can also utilize the GUI interface. So there are two methodologies over here. Like there are two ways. Once you have the GUI access and you also have the command line access. So using both of the methods, you can create a database and you can create tables, so on and so forth. Apart from that, the interviewer might also ask you, how do you delete a database? So basically, you delete a database using drop database or drop DB statements. Similarly, the interviewer might also ask you, like, how do we select, like if there's a particular table and you have to select n number of records from that particular table. So let's say you have a table called employees and you have to select top 5 records from that table. So what you can do is select star from employees limit 5. So using this limit 5, you can select top 5 statements of a table or the top 5 records of a table. The next question is, how can we create a backup of the database in PostgreSQL? So creating a backup of your database in PostgreSQL is a very simple task. So there are several methods for performing a backup. Like you have the online backup technique, you also have SQL dumps, and you also have file system level backup. So using any one of the three techniques, you can perform a backup or you can create a backup of the database in PostgreSQL. Next, very important question is, how can we enhance the query performance in the PostgreSQL? So guys, there are a few strategies through which you can enhance the query performance. Like firstly, you can perform indexing, and indexing is very helpful in queries that include the where clause or the where statement. Next, you can enhance the query performance of the database by performing the partitioning for large tables. So basically, what is partitioning? So in partitioning, what you do is you divide a large table into smaller tables. So it is very easy to deal with smaller table than dealing with one large table. So multiple smaller tables are easy to handle. And that is the reason you perform partitioning. The third technique is you can develop SQL statements for reducing the processing overhead. Like for example, by preventing the unrequired columns in the select statements. So whatever columns that you provide in the select statement, that can be limited. And once you have the limited number of columns in select statement, you automatically enhance the query performance. And last but not the least, what you can do is you can maximize the memory utilization by tuning the server parameters for matching the hardware specifications. The next question is, how can we handle errors in PostgreSQL? So guys, in PostgreSQL, there are two ways through which you can handle the errors. So the first way is by using callback functions. So callback functions can be used for handling the errors and warning conditions. So while using callback functions, we can define a particular behavior in case of warnings and errors in the queries through the whenever method. And the second technique is detailed information about the warning or the error can be achieved from the SQL variable. So basically, SQL variable offers in-depth information while warnings and errors arise during the query execution. So guys, with this, we have covered the beginners level questions or the questions that are meant for freshers. After this, we are going to cover the questions that are meant for the experienced or the intermediate candidates. I hope you have understood each and every question that we have discussed in this particular video. If at all you have any doubts or queries related to this session, then you can write them in the comment section and we will try to resolve your queries as early as possible. So guys, thank you so much for being with us and I wish you all the very best for your upcoming Postgres interview.